Hello everyone, you guys are welcome to my channel for another interesting tutorial. So in this video we'll be making this dress that is displaying on the screen right now. It looks like a pinafore dress, but it is sewn together with the white material. If this is the first time you are seeing my video, you are welcome to the channel. Here I share my sewing ideas around kids fashion, so stay tuned. Let's get this dress ready. This dress is actually for a 1-year-old. I used Ankara material, African print. I used about 1.5 yard, and the white material I used just half yard of it, and lining was about 1 yard. Then I added net. This net was to give it fullness. I didn't want to use a hard net, so I opted for a soft net. I used just 5 yards of it. This is what it will look like after making it. So let's go into the making of it. I'll be cutting directly on my fabric, and I folded my material, both the front and the back together. I have my zipper line and my starting line. So the first line is my starting line and the second is my chest line. Then my full length of 8 inches plus the seam allowance. I just took the shoulder measurement, half of it is 4 inches plus half inch for my joining allowance. And now I took my neck width of 2 inches and neck depth of 2 inches. So what I have on the shoulder, I marked it on the chest line as well. For my back neckline, I marked 1 inch, and from that place I will come down by half an inch for the shoulder slant. From the neck width I came down for the shoulder slant. So I'll get the midpoint on my armhole depth and come in by half an inch, and on my chest line I will get quarter of my chest measurement, which is 20 divided by 4, 5 plus my 1 inch seaming allowance. I marked the same thing on the waistline because the chest and the waist measurements are the same thing, since it's the child and their tummy is always almost times the same with the chest measurement. So I just connected it to my chest line to the half inch I came in with, and I'm connecting it to the shoulder slant to just form my armhole curve. As you can see, the front armhole went deeper than the back armhole. The back armhole just started on that line, but the front one was deeper. Then I'll add my half inch for my shoulder joining allowance, and I'll cut this pattern off. I'll cut through the back lines first, then I'll remove it and cut through the neckline and the armhole. So after cutting, I'll trim off my front neckline, and I will trim off the front armhole as well. Then I will still place this pattern on it on the back part, just to get the design we are working on. So note that you can cut this on a paper as well. So from my shoulder line, you can maintain your chest line, but I'll be coming down by 1 inch from the chest line. So you can make it go deeper or go up. It depends on what you want. So I'll connect 1 inch down from my chest line. Then on the shoulder line, I'll get the midpoint of what I have there, and I'll connect it to that line I marked, that 1 inch line below the chest line I marked. You can leave it as a square like this, or you can just create a curve. I'll be creating a slight curve. So from that angle, you can go up by 1 inch from the angle just to get your curve, or you can just use your free hand to join it. So since we are cutting on this fabric, we need the allowance to join it to the white material. I will be joining it with an allowance of 1/4 inch. I will just mark 1/4 inch up from the first line. But as you can see, I've entered that one that will be serving as my yoke. So what would I do when I'm cutting on the white fabric? Instead of adding just 1/4 inch on the white fabric, I will add half inch to replace the 1/4 inch that I just have on this place. I just mark 1/4 inch up for my joining allowance, but I will replace it on the white material. If you are cutting on paper, you don't need to replace it. Instead, you just add 1/4 of an inch or half an inch. If you are joining with half an inch, make sure you are replacing half an inch on your white material. So I'm just marking directly on my fabric, and I need allowance to join both the two materials together. So this is what I have, my lining and my fabric for the front and for the back pieces. So like I said, I've added my joining allowance to this one but on the process I went deeper on the yoke part. This is the yoke part. It was from here that I took my 1/4 inch. So when I'm cutting it on the white material, instead of just adding the 1/4 inch that I'm going to sew it with, I will add half an inch. 1/4 inch to replace the one I took from it, and another 1/4 inch to sew it together with the main fabric. So when I place it like that, I'll add half an inch all around, both for the front one and the back one. As you can see, I cut both the front and the back. The back ones are 4 pieces, then the front one are 2 pieces. So if you notice, I cut both the lining and the Ankara fabric open. Right now I've cut it out on the white. Anyways, I'm using a linen material. You can use any material of your choice. I'm using a white linen material. So I've cut the yoke part and I added half an inch against 1/4 inch. If you are sewing with an allowance of half inch, please, when cutting on this white one, add allowance of 1 inch. So when I open it up and pin right side together on the fabric, instead of pinning it from there all the way to the top, I will not do it like that. Instead, I will pin from the top down to the midpoint. If you pin from the midpoint all the way to the up, you will find out that at the end you will find excess at the top, and you'll be wondering, how did I get here? I thought I got things right. So what I'll do is that you pin the center point and go to the upper part and pin downwards. It will align. Okay, on this part I'm going to show you what it looks like when you pin just from the center through to the upper part. You will pin it, it will be going well, but on the process at the top part, you will find out that the white material is more than the African print. So pin at the center, then pin at the top, and from the top start coming down. Look at what you see, the excess fabric that I'm having at that top. If you decide to trim it off, you've gone out of context. You are no longer getting it the right way. So I will just pin from the top downwards to meet. I will just ease everything in at the down parts. You know, this is a circle, a curved area, so there are chances that you will miss some parts if you do not do it well. I'll do the same thing to the whole of them, both the fabric and the lining. And after doing it, I'll iron it down and I'll show you. So I've finished attaching all of them. Everything was okay. There was no excess at the top. So I used a hemming gum. I just cut out tiny piece to just hold it down. You can top stitch, but I don't want to have any thread showing at the outside part. So I just decided to use a hemming gum to hold it down. So I'll just place together and join it right side on the shoulder, both on this African print and on my lining. This is what I have, and I iron my seam line open. So it has gone back to the normal way the fabric was cut, but now we have white and plain and pattern. Let me say plain and pattern. So I made a belt and I'm joining it at my waist point. So after that, I will take my neck measurement. You can do any neck design you want. I want to just add a bishop collar to mine. I will take the neck circumference. I have 15 inches there, and I will bring up a fabric. Since I'm using a white linen material, it will not be visible. I'm using a white chalk, so I want to demonstrate with this. So make sure the fabric you are having is up to the length of the neck width you measured. I just folded it into 2, and I will mark 15 inches into 2 is 7.5. So I will take it up and mark 7.5 as well, and I'll roll it into a straight line. Note that it is folded into 2 and the width was 6 inches. So from the down part, I came up by 3/4 of an inch, 0.75. I just want to give that down part a slight curve. You do not cut it straight. This is a bishop collar. So you can also go up by 1 inch. Note that the higher you go, the higher the curve, the more curve it forms. So my collar width will be 1 inch, but I need half an inch to join it to the dress itself, and I need 1/4 inch to join to sew the upper part. So I'm marking 1.75. You can as well mark 2 inches if you want to sew your upper part with half an inch. So I just connected it as a curve, and on that part I will reduce it by half an inch. I'll reduce it by half an inch so that it will not gape at the neckline, and I'll connect it as well. Instead of having it straight, if you leave it straight, it's going to gape, but if you reduce it, it will just blend well. It will just wrap the neck very well. I'll cut this out. When you are cutting a collar, it is advisable that you cut it on bias, but you notice I'm cutting on a straight fabric. You are not supposed to. It's advisable, though I cut mine on a straight pattern, but it's advisable to cut on a bias form. So I place this on my white linen material, and I'll cut it exactly the way I just cut that black material I'm using to illustrate. Like I said, it is advisable whenever you are cutting a collar, cut on bias. So that is into 2 pieces. I'll just split it and work with one. I've added on my seaming allowance at the up and at the down, so there's no need adding seaming allowance to this white material. I'm just going to cut it the way the template looks like. So you may want to ask, why do we normally cut collar on bias form? So that it relaxes very well, so that it does not gape. So after removing it, since there are 2 pieces, I'll go and stitch on the upper part with 1/4 inch. When I open it, I'll top stitch on one side and I'll iron it down. So after top stitching, I'll make sure to iron it down, and this is what it looks like. You see that curvy effect? That was the essence of coming up by 3/4 inch or half an inch or 1 inch, depending on how curvy you want it. So when I get my fabric like this, I'll match the midpoints together and I'll sew it through to the edge. If you want to use a button for this collar, please endeavor to sew your edges, the edge of the collar. I did not close mine because my zip will be running through to that end, so I didn't bother closing mine. So I've sewn it to the main fabric, and I will bring my lining to cover it up. Just match the lining and the fabric right side, so the collar will be in between the two fabric, and I'll sew it as well. And I top stitch towards the lining side so that it doesn't move up. So this is what I have, and I'll make sure to iron very well. So after ironing the neckline, look at how it's standing. This is what I want, and I'll close up the sides. I'll close up right side for the fabric and for the lining on both sides, with the allowance that I left while I was drafting it. 1 inch. I left allowance of 1 inch while I was drafting it. So this is what it looks like, and I've ironed the seam line open on both sides, both on the fabric and on the lining. So it's time for me to get the measurements for my skirt part. When I measured it, I got about 22 inches. 20 inches is the waist circumference, then 2 inches is the zipper allowance on both sides, and my armhole was about 9.5. I will cut the skirt part, and also I will cut the sleeve. So for the sleeve, I just have 4 fabric folded, but I'll be marking on this black so that you will see it. The length is 12 inches, the width is 10 inches. So I will take 5 inches straight. I'll mark it straight. I just want to cut a simple puff sleeve. So from there, I'll come down by 3 inches. I want these 3 inches to serve as my cap height. I'll come down by 3 inches. and I'm just taking away the elastic casing allowance at the down part. So from there I'll just make a curve, a slight curve, and you can reduce the down part by the down part by 1 inch, or you just leave it straight like that. I just reduced mine by 1 inch and I'll cut it out. Not that there are several methods of cutting sleeve. I just want the easiest one at this point because I was in a hurry. I didn't want to draft, but this actually gave me what I wanted. So that mark there is my elastic casing allowance. So this is my sleeve, the two sleeves, and I'll go and turn my elastic casing. I'll go and create my elastic casing channel. So repeat the same thing for the second one, half inch in, then another half inch in. Then I will gather the up part to fit the armhole of 9.5 inches. After sewing the elastic casing, I will use my pin and pass the elastic through. The elastic I'm using is 6 inches in length and is half inch width elastic. So I'll pass it through for the two of them and I'll stitch the sides down. So after doing all that, I attach the sleeves and I attach my zipper. I have a video of how to attach zipper on this channel. I have two videos on how to attach the zipper, so do check it out. And also I made a small bow, and to just give it that stylish effect, and I'll attach it to the neckline. So I added net, soft net, 5 years of soft net, just to give you this full net. You can add hard net if you want to, but this is a 1-year-old child, so I don't want the child to feel uncomfortable at any point. So that is why I added this soft net. And look at how full and fluffy it is. Have you watched up to this point? Endeavor to give me a like, subscribe if you've not, and remember to turn on your bell icon on for other videos like this. Thank you and bye.